Johnson is fouled and hit. Ward had it tipped. Johnson made a good catch. Johnson is fouled and hit.
Ewing in street clothes. Bird on the opposing bench as the coach of the Pacers. Pandemonium on a 4-point play for Larry Johnson. The 8th-seeded Knicks would win the series and go back to the NBA Finals. That's the last time they were there. And it brings us to number 1 on the list. One of the most famous games, one of the most famous sequences in basketball history. Game 1, 95 conference semifinal. Tom Hammond at the mic again.
A game that's seen nearly 60 fouls called. Actually, that is short of the record for both teams in a playoff game. Miller for 3, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again. Tie game.
Reggie Miller with 2 3-pointers in 5 seconds. Knick fans will forever say he pushed off before he stole that ball and hit the second 3. It didn't matter. A few seconds later, Reggie would get fouled, hit the game-winning free throws, 8 points in 9 seconds, cementing Reggie Miller as maybe the greatest all-time villain in Madison Square Garden history. The Pacers would win that game, they would win that series in 7, and they would go to the NBA Finals. And so there is so much history from that era between these two teams, and that is the rivalry that is renewed tomorrow night. But as you pointed out in our meeting this morning, Alan, there is more recent history between these two as well.
Absolutely is, when you consider they had a 7-game series last season, one that the Knicks took a 2-0 lead. That Game 3 was one of the great Game 3s you'll ever see when it comes to a team facing the potential of being down 0-3. And then the Knicks were seconds away from it until Nembhard hit a great shot. Then this thing goes to 7. Why? Knicks had a couple of injuries. They had a Game 7 where they were barely, they were put together by gum and glue. In this game, Josh Hart's playing with an injury, but you saw Tyrese Halliburton give you a little bit of that Reggie Miller feel. Walked in the building into Madison Square Garden for a Game 7 wearing that shirt with Reggie Miller with the choke sign, and he put up a great performance, hit 6 threes in that game. Talking to the crowd, was that his moment that he became a Garden villain?
Advantage Indiana coming off of last season. These are two teams that weren't supposed to be here. All year long, we were talking about Boston and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. Funny thing happened on the way to this point. It's the Knicks and the Pacers. And here's what Stephen A. Smith was saying yesterday about the Pacers coming back to Madison Square Garden.
There is a different flavor, a different vibe that forces the opposition at times to shrink, okay? And I believe that that is what is going to happen in this series when it counts most.
It's interesting, really, right? Madison Square Garden is the biggest stage in the sport. For as bad as the Knicks have generally been for the last quarter of a century, it does remain, like they'll say, it's like playing Broadway. And I think it's sort of, it separates players, has been my experience watching it. There are some guys who love it, who rise to that. And there are some, as Stephen A. is saying, who do shrink on that stage.
Yeah, man, the Garden, like, I had a small stint there, right? We didn't make the playoffs, but the one thing that I admired is every night is sold out. Every night is sold out. So you have to come. Like, these fans are into every game. But this stage right here is like, it's immaculate. Like having all the superstars on the front row and like having all the Knicks greats just come out, like it's a different feeling. But as a player, if I'm Tyrese Halliburton, if I'm Pages, if I'm Siakam, I want to play my best. This is what I've been waiting for right here, to implement my name as one of the greatest Indiana Pacers, to go into the Garden right now. And when everybody counted us out and be able to win this series, like, how do you look at the Indiana Pacers after that?
Well, yeah, go.
He has had brilliant games in the Garden, and he has had terrible games.
So about Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton.
Yes.
Right. Because I think it's everything with him, right? It all starts with him because the crowd already feels a certain way about him, and they are giving him a little bit of that Reggie Miller treatment that only, if you think about it, since Reggie Miller, only Trae Young has felt this.
Yeah.
Only he has felt this, but Tyrese Halliburton's starting to. His Game 1 in that series last year, awful. His Game 2, brilliant. Right. He hit 7 threes. His Game 5, the Knicks took a 3-2 lead in the series. His Game 5, he was terrible in that game. I mean, really bad, but his 7 That is the one that you wonder, does he build off of that knowing I've had success in this building, I've clinched a series in this building, and does he generate more of that Reggie Miller energy in this series and turn it into even more drama like we remember from the 90s?
So I want to give credit to our man, Brian Windhorst. So at the very beginning of the playoffs, literally the day the playoffs were starting, all of our analysts will send in notes. I was reading his notes, and his notes on Indiana were, this is a title contender hiding in plain sight. Because they got off to such a bad start this season, they were never one of the top seeds. They were never taken as seriously as they should have been. Yeah. Going back to the beginning of January, they have been as good as any team in the East, maybe as good as any team in the NBA, or close to it. Yeah. They have stampeded through these playoffs, running through Milwaukee and Giannis, running through Cleveland. Who has the advantage in your mind as this series opens tomorrow night, the Knicks or the Pacers?
I got to go with that home court in the Garden. Like, I think that's the difference in this series. I think guys will – I think the guys from New York understands the mission right here. Like, they haven't been in this spot in so long, right? Like, we need guys like Kent to really step up and really show that he's one of the best bigs in the league. He's averaging 19 and 11 right now during the playoffs. He has to take that up. During the regular season, he's a 24 and a 13 guy. Like, he has to play to that style of basketball. And I think if you could get him to play at that level, I think the Knicks win this series.
You saw that in Game 6. Destiny and faith are not just dancers at Rick Cabaret. It is also something that the Knicks are feeling right now. This team is feeling that right now. And that's why I agree with you. And I feel like there is a revenge factor here, a little bit of one. They remember what happened. The Knicks know Brunson got hurt in Game 7. Hart was hurt. OG Anunoby had no hamstring. They didn't have Mitchell Robinson. They look back at that series and say, we weren't whole. We're whole now. The Knicks say they are fully healthy. And when they are fully healthy, they feel like they can beat anyone. And the other part of it that you have to add, without trying to say what the Pacers have done has been remarkable. But in the last 2 playoff years, the series they have won, they have beaten injured teams. The Cavaliers, they weren't healthy. They were all banged up. So that is also something to think about. They've beaten the Bucks twice. They've been banged up. The Knicks were banged up last year. They face a fully healthy team for the first time since they faced the Celtics. How does that match up, and can the Knicks take advantage of it?
Quick final word.
But I think Indiana is different than every team that's been in the playoff. They are a real team. They're not predicated on one guy getting a basket or 2 guys getting a – they're predicated on everyone playing well. Like, they can play 10 guys. No other team in this playoff can do that. So I think they do show problems to the Knicks because they definitely struggled with Detroit Pistons early, and we've seen how that team aspect can be something a little shaky for the Knicks.
Look, the history of this rivalry is epic. I have a feeling this series is going to be epic as well. Meanwhile, I want to show you some required reading. Our Jonathan Givony has an article on ESPN.com, and he had very interesting insights into the plans the 76ers have for the draft. Remember, they got in the lottery the 3rd pick. I can already see your face. This is what Givony wrote. He wrote, some teams expect the Sixers to be active in trade conversations with names such as Kevin Durant and Lauri Markkanen as potential targets in packages that could include Paul George and the number 3 pick. Marcus, why did you react that way when we began this?
Because I'm just tired of the Sixers just trying to do so much, right? Like, you've already then switched guys out in and out. You just had James Harden. Now you got Paul George. Like, are you going to bring Kevin Durant here and it doesn't work? Now, what happens is that don't work. Like, now what's the conversation? Like, let's get a healthy Embiid. Let's focus on that first before we talk about going to get a guy like Kevin Durant. And you've seen what happened in Phoenix. I'm not sure if that's a better situation.
Giving up the 3 pick when Joel Embiid has got really not much left, not much tread left on the tire. It's clear, right? Getting him healthy and keeping him healthy is a challenge at this point. They are stuck with that contract. You're not moving it, but giving up a 3 pick. Tyrese Maxey's a young player, and he's a dynamic player. Wouldn't you want Jared McCain, before the injury, looked like he had a future. You're going to give away a future core like that to just try once again to chase a championship for Embiid? That makes no sense.
Bottom line, I'm going to do some math. Sometimes we do math on this show, Marcus. We do some math. Okay, so a healthy Joel Embiid plus Tyrese Maxey plus Kevin Durant next year equals what in the Eastern Conference?
I would say championship. Yeah, but the main factor is Joel Embiid being healthy.
Yes.
Like, I don't even think you have to add Kevin Durant. I think you have to start there. Like, you can't just jump and say let's get this guy. You have a great core.
But that's not really optional, right? Like, is that even?
Just starting with a healthy Joel Embiid, I'm out of the room. I just walked out. Just start with that part. That has never happened before. You got to write that in pencil, and it'll be erased before you finish writing it. Like that, he's never healthy. The franchise has to accept where they are with him and look at going forward and sort of drag him along. This is almost late 90s Knicks with Patrick Ewing, where Patrick Ewing was just, there was not much gas left in the tank. So they got Sprewell, they got Houston, they got Larry Johnson. They tried to just build a team where he's just doesn't have to be the centerpiece. The same thing has to be done in Philadelphia. Giving up that 3 pick makes no sense.
All right, we'll see if that's what winds up happening. Again, all eyes are going to be on Giannis. All eyes are going to be on KD and other big-name stars once we get to free agency. In the meantime, we got Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. Top-seeded Thunder hosting the Timberwolves. We talked about the Superstar Showdown. It's 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. Countdown Crew tips off your night, 7:30 Eastern tonight right here on ESPN. Coming up, I have seen the future, people. It does not involve Super.